Well, hello, you wonderful humans, and welcome back to Monster Hunter Stories 2. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to get one of my favorite monsters of all time in any Monster Hunter game, and a monster that even carried me through Monster Hunter Stories 1, and it's definitely going to be one that you want to get for yourself, and that is none other than Zinogre. This beautiful baby will be an absolute amazing party member, and it's definitely something you want to get as soon as possible in the game. Now, Zinogre is a rarity 5 Monstie, and you won't actually be able to acquire one of these in a den normally until much later in the game, but by defeating it as a royal monster in the wild, you can actually get it really early, and it is very powerful. It's got high HP and high attack stats. It's an electric monster, and quite frankly, it just looks freaking amazing. It also has very good genes that are not only great for itself, but great to put on other monsters as well, like Critical Eye, which increases your crit chance. You can turn things into Thunder Element, which is just kind of fun to experiment with. And it also has the riding actions of Jump, which means you can finally get rid of Velocidrome in your party and have something way cooler. Now, before we get into Zinogre's location, I do want to go over all of the items that you should bring to not only increase its retreat rate, but also to increase your odds of getting very rare eggs. So the first thing we're going to want to go to is to the field guide. And if you're trying to do this at a low level to be able to get Zinogre earlier than you otherwise would be able to, we're going to defeat it when it's a royal monster out in the wild, which means we're actually not going to have the skills to achieve the retreat rate, but this is still good information to have. If we want to increase it drastically, we have to defeat it with an ice element attack while it's afflicted with Blast Blight to greatly increase the boost of its retreat rate. Unfortunately, at a lower level, we don't have access to Blast Blight until we start fighting something like Brachydios, but we can see that it's an electric type monster with a weak point of ice, so if you can take advantage of those, you definitely want to. Now, just like my other egg hunting videos, I am going to be using the Rathian armor again, and that's because it has Den Protector Medium on here, which is going to boost the retreat rate of slain monsters by a good amount. And then I also have a nesting charm here, and if we check that out, it also has the Den Protector Small here, so we're getting a little bit more of a boost with that. And obviously you don't have to use the armor or charm that I'm using. You can use whatever boosts that you currently have, but other than that, that's what we're going to use for our armor. Now, just like the other videos, I highly recommend leveling up your prayer pot. You're going to want to activate the finding prayer, which eggs containing monsters with rare genes become 6.5% easier to find. This percent goes up higher the higher level that your prayer pot is, and you can level up your prayer pot by donating 5 charms to it, and you'll gain a new level. So right now I have my finding charms at 16.5% increase, so we're at over 20% increase to our rare, to our better gene finding eggs. So you're gonna want to make sure to activate both of these to have the highest chance of finding rare eggs possible. Some other items that you're going to want to bring with you are pitfall traps, because these are going to be used to trap Zinogre. It is a speed type monster, so you're going to want speed type traps. Now let's get into where to actually find Zinogre and how to defeat it. This is going to be a royal monster out in the wild, so when you approach this at a lower level, it is going to be very difficult to defeat because you won't find these out in the wild or in dens until much later in the game, but by defeating this royal monster, we'll be able to acquire only Zinogre eggs from the den at a much lower level than we would traditionally be able to. Now, if this is your first time going into this area, you're going to come down all the way down through here, or if you have just gotten to the town, this is going to be like one of the first fast travel spots that you're going to be able to get to. And you're going to travel all the way down this road to the south end of the map, and in this opening you're going to find Zinogre sitting there. There's a fast travel point here which we're going to use throughout this process, so make sure to go get that fast travel point before you take on Zinogre, and you can save there as well. But let's go ahead and run into this bad boy and let's get into this. So it is a speed type monster, so you're going to want to be using either a pure monster that uses technical attacks, or just make sure to counter as much as you can, depending on whatever your strongest Monstie is. Also, when you are here, you are going to make sure to use what is called a hot mist, because when you're in the cold zone, you're going to get stunned by the cold and prevent you from attacking. I should have activated this before I got into the fight. Make sure you activate that before you go into the fight, because it'll last the whole time you're in the zone. That is very important. So we got a attack coming straight at us. It should be a speed attack, so we're going to counter with a technical. Now, I want to go ahead and break. You can break whatever parts you want. I'm going to go for the head. Doesn't really matter really right now, unless you're farming up certain Zinogre parts. But really the main thing is just keeping yourself and your teammates alive. And as long as you just focus on staying alive, it's really not going to be that bad of a fight. You can also use pitfall traps when, the pitfall traps when you're feeling like maybe things are going awry. And that'll definitely help out quite a bit. Just keep shooting Zinogre here. Now, when Zinogre is enraged, it's going to start using technical attacks, which means you can go ahead and go in with power attacks, which is why I brought Tony Pepperoni with us, because Tony does a ton of damage. And I typically end up choosing a Monstie that does good counterattacks for when it's enraged, because I just like countering the enraged damage more than the standard damage. It seems to work out a lot better for me. You can use that strategy if you so desire, but it works out for me quite well. We countered it instead of letting it fall into, well, since it used a power attack, it didn't fall into the pitfall trap. If it's using power attacks and you want to stop it, then you need to use a shock trap. But let's continue killing this bad boy. And what we basically want to do is we want to get it to about like a quarter or less health, and that's when we need to do some specific things to increase the rate of its potential retreats. Now, at a lower level, you really want to make sure you're doing the double attacks as much as humanly possible. And while it's down on the ground, I can't really show it off, but the double attack is when it's attacking you or your party members, you want to use the counter. So if it's using speed, you want to use technical. If it's using technical, you want to use power, etc., etc. And that will initiate a double attack, which will actually cause it to stun its attack and prevent it from actually doing damage to you, which is pretty important. So right now, it's pretty close to death. You can tell if you don't have a health bar, which means maybe you're fighting it for the first time or you haven't killed one yet, you can tell that a monster is getting close to death, because it's either going to start drooling or its mannerisms will change. It'll start sagging to the ground, and that's when you're going to want to throw that paintball. The paintball, see how Zinogre is kind of leaning towards the ground now? It's got drool coming out of its mouth. This means it is getting ready to die. And this is when you want to make sure you throw the paintball. We already threw one, but I'll just throw another one for good measure. And this is going to drastically increase its retreat rates. Now we just need to murder it and not die, and that's all we really got to focus on. Just not dying is the most imperative thing out of all of this. All right, Zinogre is down. We broke all the parts. We threw a paintball, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, it has retreated. Now here's where things are going to get a little tricky for us. We're going to do a trick here to basically allow us to farm up higher quality eggs rather than having to fight the Monstie every time. I love having Tigrex because we can charge and get through this a lot faster. If you haven't gotten a Tigrex, check out the channel for videos on exactly how to get this bad boy. One of the best monsters in the game. This thing is straight carrying me through the game right now. But what you need to do is go to this catavan stand up here. Walk to it. Do not teleport to it after defeating the Zinogre. We're going to go ahead and save. You can create a new save or just overwrite, basically just overwrite an old one. Make sure to not overwrite your autosave, because we are going to want to be able to reload to this. So make sure to make a new save slot or overwrite one of your other slots that's not your autosave. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and go back to the den. And what this does is if we don't get a quality egg that we like from this, we can reload that save and go back to this den as many times as we need to without actually having to refight Zinogre. This is extremely useful if you're at a lower level and you just want to get it defeated, and it's already really hard as it is. So this allows you to farm up this egg as much as you want at a low level and not really ever have to worry about fighting it again until you're super ready for it. Now, the best part about hunting these royal monsters is it's the only egg that we can find in this den. We can only find Zinogre eggs from here. They're nice, like this blue or cyan and yellow. And since we have all of these bonuses, we should be able to, at the very least, get a gold here. Obviously, you're going to kind of want to go for a rainbow, but golds are definitely a good place to start from. But if you don't end up getting an egg that you want, just go ahead and close out of the game, reload the save, and just come back to the den until you get a gold or rainbow egg that you actually want. So let's get into the rate of channeling a little bit with Zinogre, because I know a lot of people have been trying to figure out the rate of channeling, and I try and add this to the end of each video just so you can learn a little bit more about making extremely powerful Monsties. So you don't need to get a ton of Zinogre eggs to be able to make a powerful Zinogre. You can even change up the type that Zinogre is. If you don't like lightning, you can turn him into any other type. You can turn him into fire, dragon, really whatever you want to do. Although that's really an endgame activity because as the Monstie levels up, those stats will change. But I do have a couple other Zinogre eggs here. So what I can do, and one of the things that I recommend doing early, is just leveling up your attacks that your monster gets early. Like, we could put this health boost M on there, which would probably be a really good idea since we can only get one electric bingo right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this health boost on there just because having extra health is going to help out really well. You don't have to worry too much about the bingos early if you don't have like all the slots unlocked. What I like doing aside from doing stuff like that is at least leveling up our genes here. So you can actually select a gene and then layer it on top of another one, giving you a bonus to that particular skill. And that's really easy, and it doesn't require you getting any like super duper rare eggs or anything like that, and will make your Monstie just a little bit more powerful. Now you can also get Kezus in this area, which are another thunder type Monstie, and you can transfer some genes from here onto your monster to help get you your electric bingos at the very least. We can put like Thunderfang on here, and what's kind of nice about doing this at a lower level is it gives you counters too, so that way if you're fighting something you can have some additional counters on there, so that way you can use a more powerful Monstie in more situations than just when it's weak to thunder or when you're trying to fight something that's weak to a speed type monster. But regardless, that really is all there is to actually getting Tigrex and getting it nice and powerful. It's a great monster to have, one of my favorites of all time, and there's even cooler versions of it later in the game. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.